All right, so for our first of two rankings, we're going to start off with the wide receiver group, a very, very, very interesting group. A
Talented.
lot of number one
Talented.
receivers, a lot of players that you can really put as a number one receiver. I heard one
Yeah.
receiver, I don't remember who it was, but say that I can make an argument for seven players being the number one
Yeah.
receiver. Was that
Seriously.
is I mean there is a tight group of players in that elite tier of
Mm-hmm.
wideouts within this league right now. It really goes to show you
The,
the talent at that
Josh, the other thing is
quarterback.
this, man. The other thing is this. The type of quarterback you got also really matters. I
Yeah.
mean, see, look, the reason why I say that is this. We've got like guys like Devontae Adams. We've got guys like Tyreek Hill, who has your number 8 guy, Tua Tagovailoa. You have people like Kirk Cousins, who you have despised pretty much throughout whatever you've known through the NFL. You're not a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson has to play for him. You don't know what the quarterback's going to turn out like this season. So it's a big wide receivers, maybe the most debated position. I don't know what's going to happen today, but whatever it is, I think both of us will agree. If some players get put in other places, we're not going to be the most mad. I think we're going to be reasonable about this. And if you guys have any comments, put them away. I mean, we really look forward to seeing your feedback. What do you guys think about this as well? So, number one, Yash, you take the lead on this.
Well, number one, this is one that's going to be really fun. I don't think it's completely unreasonable, given we've
Okay.
seen large breakouts from receivers in the past. It's not
Okay.
who you think it is, but it's definitely in the ballpark of those types of receivers. I'm not going to go with Justin Jefferson, although I do think right now he's the best receiver in football.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to be the best
The
performing
best season.
receiver next year.
Fair.
And for that reason,
Okay.
I'm going to have actually his former running mate at LSU, Jamar Chase. I I mean,
Okay.
you
There you
have to
go.
we have to remember that Jamar Chase has pretty much been toe to toe with Justin Jefferson at every point in his career. Jefferson broke the receiving record. Jamar Chase ended up having Jamar Chase ended up breaking hit Jefferson's own receiving record last year. Or in his second season, Justin Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken, had 1,600 or 1,700 yards. Jamar Chase was on pace to do that. Unfortunately, got hurt, but I think he definitely would have gotten somewhere close to that had it not been for that injury he had. So from that standpoint, I don't see anything changing from there. What's really impressive to me about Jamar Chase is the fact that he's able to do all of this despite the fact that he has two receivers that also have a lot of touches of the ball in that offense, specifically T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they get a lot of attention themselves, and Jamar Chase is still able to put up great numbers. Um, and of course, we have to remember that like we're looking at the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We had Joe Burrow number two on that list. For those of you who haven't watched that, please tune in. Um, but Joe Burrow is definitely one of the best quarterbacks in football, and he's also pretty young himself. He's going to improve in his fourth year as much as any other young quarterback would. You add that potential MVP candidate in Joe Burrow alongside someone like a Jamar Chase, that dynamic. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be Tom Brady, Randy Moss 2007, but I mean, there is a lot of intrigue and a lot of potential for a historic NFL season or a historic offensive season for that Bengals offense. They could be breaking a lot of franchise records. Um, you look at a lot of the advanced numbers that Chase has had as far as his depth of target, as far as his ability to gain separation on routes and being able to actually catch the ball on those over expected plays. Um, Jamar Chase is one of the best tough position catchers. He's one of the best route runners. He's really the complete package. And when you have a young player like that, just going to get better and better with an MVP candidate at quarterback, who, by the way, is one of the best deep ball throwers, if not the best deep ball thrower outside of Mahomes in the game. I mean, that's a recipe for success. And I think Jamar Chase, for that reason, is a fair shot at number one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you made a very valid point regarding Jamar Chase. Um, One thing I will say is though, I would twist the argument that you gave, just back on its heel. You're saying, with two-star receivers and he's still able to dominate, with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, who are, I mean, together with Jamar Chase, are probably creating one of the best receiver cores in the NFL, if not the best. The way I would twist it is if you have that talent on your team, Joe Burrow is not the type of guy to throw it to one main guy. I think he has evolved into a quarterback who's seeing different areas. And also with Jamar Chase being as dominant as he has been in the 2 season, he is going to get double teamed a fair lot more. So I think Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins are going to get the ball a lot more. So in that case, I do think Jamar Chase, from a statistical standpoint, is not going to have the same season he has had before, but so dominant. Then again, I completely am okay with this pick. I think that, first of all, I think he can beat those double teams if he were to be placed on them. Um, so, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying that there could obviously be the other alternative for this argument. I would have personally put Jamar Chase at number two and put this guy at number one, Mr. Justin Jefferson. The reason why I put him up there is, I mean, the dominance that he has had, no offense to Jamar Chase, is just not comparable with what he's done so far. I personally think so. I mean, I think the dominance that he on frankly a horrible defense. I mean, for the past every single year he's been there, there's a horrible defensive scheme, first of all, from a tactical standpoint, and then overall players itself. Zadarius Smith was a star last year. Eric Kendricks was there, obviously, Chargers. But the other, I mean, Zadarius Smith is left now, but really, if you think about it, their defense has been historically bad. Yet, Justin Jefferson is pulling out insane numbers. I mean, he's doing everything he can to make the Vikings a winner. By any means, Kirk Cousins is not a great quarterback. I disagree with Josh saying that he's really almost average or if not below average. I think he's a pretty good player. But I think with the fact that Dalvin Cook has left the team, they're gonna go away from actually a run pass type offense to more of a pass type offense. So I think he's gonna get a lot more touches. The argument that TJ Hawkins in there, yes, that is true, but as Kirk Cousins, I think he's going to target more of the receiver or Justin Jefferson, particularly. And I think Justin Jefferson is going to, I think he's going to have one of the best seasons, if not the best season of his career next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that at all. You know my opinion on Kirk Cousins. He's gotten, I think, I think he's a not. I think he's a below average quarterback. I think that he is someone that doesn't make the right plays to tantamount to winning. That being said, he does put up huge stat numbers. So I can completely understand why you put him um at number one. In addition, you're talking about the run game, kind of dissipating a little bit with Dalvin Cook. The defense has been horrible, and yet somehow this team won 12 games last year. A lot of the times it was because Jefferson just put the team on his back. I mean, it was one of the most sensational things I've watched from a receiver probably since I saw the highlights of Owens in,
I think really Calvin Johnson. I mean, I
Fitzgerald.
think the dominant.
Oh,
I mean,
Calvin,
Fitzgerald.
yeah, you're completely right. I forgot about Calvin
I mean,
Johnson.
Gerald maybe, but I mean, Calvin Johnson.
Yeah,
Like, you look at that team, running backs, offense line, receivers,
yeah.
quarterback Matthew
Stafford's
Stafford.
still kind of like,
You think about it, the only reason why Matthew Stafford was anything was because Calvin Johnson was catching ridiculous
yeah.
passes. I mean, ridiculous. I don't mean like Patrick Mahomes ridiculous, which is just like, wow, no one could do that. I
Well,
mean,
no,
like,
he was still putting, like, for a receiver. I mean, this was a guy who, like, he could put up 300 yards by getting, like, 200 of them after the
yeah,
catch,
I
or
mean,
he'd get it off of triple coverage. Like, he was the most unstoppable force for a couple of years in football.
and I'll say this: Justin Jefferson's catch against the Bills. Am I saying it's the greatest catch ever? Obviously not. But it cannot be disputed that this is one of the greatest plays ever. I'm serious. You
It's
think about the
statistically probably
situation.
one of the greatest catches ever. And if you're
Because
talking about, it's like what
you
situation.
can say Odell's catch. See, the difference is this. People are not understanding this. When I say the greatest catch, often I talk with people about this. The greatest catch is not just the physical or the athletic ability. When it comes to that, Odell Beckham's catch, no one will replicate again. And I'll say another thing about the greatest catch. Jokes aside, the cameraman has a lot of input on it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If he doesn't have that angle, that back stretch on that overhead like this, you don't call it the greatest catch. That photo is more iconic than the actual play. Like people will look at the photo and be like, "Oh yeah, that's OBJ with that beautiful catch." They don't remember what team he played against, the way it was caught, how long it was, who was the quarterback. None. It's a photo man. Cameraman should be given $1 billion just for that photo. Jokes aside, I think the fact that the situation, number one, you're facing against Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. It's time for Justin Jefferson to be like, I'm number one, shut down. Like he goes into this Arnold Schwarzenegger, in those movies, he just goes in that zone. He's like the Terminator, destroys everybody. I mean, it's one of those like iconic catches. I think that will go down in history. Like it was like that Tyree catch over the helmet, but
It's
it's one of the greatest catches. Seriously.
I mean, Jefferson is amazing, but I mean, for number three, this is one that I kind of, it was a bit of a toss up for me. I ended up going with Tyreek Hill, particularly because of the quarterback situation. I'm a little skeptical on where Devontae Adams, how his season's going to transpire as far as, where he's going to land up. I still think I still think that he's going to be traded at the deadline, and I've been saying for a while that I think it's going to be the Jets that trade for him, given his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. But we'll see about that. The reason I went
Yeah.
with Tyreek Hill, he's probably the most unstoppable player in the game as far as it, or the unstoppable receiver in the game as far as his deep threat goes. He's one of the fastest, if not the fastest player in the game. In game speed wise, probably the fastest. Um, Incredibly underrated with both his route running. I think no one talks really about the like the numerous amount of different types of routes he can run, and in addition to really his ability to jump and be able to contest or make contested plays. That's something I don't think that gets talked about a lot, given that he's like pretty short. Um, no offense, but like I mean, that's the great thing about Hill. I mean, despite all of that, and despite even at times where like you didn't have Tua last year, he showed that he could still put up those incredible numbers and be able to carry the Dolphins offense. He had 100, I think it was like 113 yards in one of the worst offensive games for the Dolphins last year. He was the number one receiver per PFF for majority of the year before Jefferson eventually took that away. So I mean, from that
Was
standpoint, he
so he
has
was
that,
tough.
and now
It was a
now
long
you're getting
way.
Tua back, a quarterback that can actually play, right? A guy. I mean, let's be honest, he's better than any of this
Yo,
other
no,
quarterbacks.
no, he's a good quarterback.
Right?
I'm just whenever you say Tua, I feel bad for Tua because my respect for him has gone down based on the fact that we've kept him. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like Tyreek Hill is like, I mean, he's done everything with Mahomes, with Tua, with whoever else, with I mean, any Dolphins quarterback, any Chiefs quarterback, he's just that good. And we have to, I mean, that's I mean, he's gonna keep doing that, and I have no reason to believe that he's gonna stop.
I mean, look, Tyreek Hill, first of all, when that trade happened, I think the entire world was like, Mahomes not going to win a Super Bowl and all that stuff. He did because he's Mahomes, but I don't think any other quarterback would have been able to do that, other than Brady. Because, I mean, this guy is a beast when it comes to all levels. Speed with athletic ability, the jumps. I mean, he really is, from an athletic standpoint, insane. Um, but I will say one thing, and it's really not even about Tua. Personally, it's actually Mike McDaniel. And the reason why I say that is this. Mike McDaniel is a great head coach with an extremely creative offensive mind that no other offense uses. But initially, the offense was almost unstoppable. People didn't know how to stop the offense for about the first 8 weeks. Then, even though Tua was out, or when Tua was in later in the season, the offense was very, very predictable. Very predictable. And if he runs a similar type of offense, he may not be in the Tyreek Hill may not be in the best position. Because the thing is, I remember showing this in week one, or episode one rather. You guys should watch that. It's a whole film study on Sauce Gardner, where Tyreek Hill comes and then he goes back like this, like on a motion. If you watch that Chargers game, I'm not being biased. I'm just stating pure facts. Brandon Staley had the most perfect defensive game plan against the Miami Dolphins, especially against Tyreek Hill. That was the first time they got exposed from an offensive perspective. Tyreek Hill came back, went like this. I mean, they allowed a long touchdown, agreed at in like the second half, but first half they shut him down completely. No one had done that to that point. And the reason why I bring up that is this: if the Chargers defense, which was by any means not anything to write home about last year, was able to shut down Tyreek Hill in the first half, if the Chargers defense can do that, think about like other defenses like Pittsburgh, who have much more talented players on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not saying he's not deserving of this number 3 role. I'm just saying that he may fall down to 4 or 5 based on the play calling and the type of schemes that Mike McDaniel uses.
That's
That's my
fair. That's
perspective.
fair. Also, given like his age too, just the fact that he's older and
Yeah.
like Jalen Waddle is going to probably have a bigger role. So at that point, you're probably not going to, use Tyreek Hill as your Swiss Army knife,
Mhm.
especially given just
Yeah.
how similar.
I honestly I think that instead of playing him at the X, they should play him at the zebra. Like or like like a Wes Welker or something.
Right.
Sometimes your height has a big factor in terms of playing that zebra. So I think that personally. Now, number 4, again, a big toss up for me because I thought about a lot of things how they were playing last season, this season. It may seem conventional, but really not for me. I'm gonna go with Devontae Adams. Um, look, actually, Yash, I wanted to ask you just as a quick question: is Jimmy Garoppolo the starting quarterback right now for the Raiders, or is it?
He's penciled in to be the starter, but
He
there's
is, right?
still like there are like it's interesting because it's like there are a lot of different rumors involving that foot injury that he had or the
Yeah. I'm
physical.
trying to think.
But I think from what I've heard, he's going to be starting week 1, and I think from that, yeah. So
Okay, if Jimmy Garoppolo is starting week 1, I wanted to clear that out because I was frankly confused on whether he was gonna or not. Devontae Adams, I think, will be number 4 for the first time last season. Um, look, disappointing is not the right word, but I saw a different Devontae Adams. When he was with Aaron Rodgers, those 2 seasons where he had that MVP, Aaron Rodgers had smooth. When I mean smooth, I mean like just smooth when it comes to the get off, how he got cornerbacks off him without touching them. Devontae Adams, no one touches him when it comes to that. Last season, though, I felt like he got misused in a lot of ways. Josh McDaniel kind of just made him run these post routes or these go routes or these overs or like routes that made him go deep. That's why you had certain games where he had like 3 receptions for 100 yards or 2 receptions for 100 yards. Frankly, the Devontae Adams that I feel is the best version is a guy who has 10 or 12 receptions for 100 yards. The reason why I say that is this, and I think this is why he'll be number 4. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a deep ball type guy. Not saying he has a horrible deep ball accuracy. He's just not the type of guy you put in to throw deep balls up.
yeah,
He lays it short, allows the receiver to make the play on the run. Very, very similar to a West Coast approach or a Joe Montana approach. 2 step, 3 step rather, 3 step or 5 step, whatever the case may be. Devontae Adams will kill you. He's a threat on the outside. He will kill you on the inside. That's a difference. If you allow him to go inside, Devontae Adams will find any nook and corner to just fit the ball in, and he'll take running off. I feel that's why Devontae Adams will have a success because I think Josh McDaniel, first of all, he understands he has one of the best running backs in the game. He has a quarterback that fits him, and he has Devontae Adams, who's extremely good in the interior. I think that's why Devontae Adams will be the 4th best receiver. I mean, I think he's number 1, no, because I don't know what Jimmy Garoppolo is gonna do. Yash and me agree on this, saying that he's not the worst quarterback, but is he the good enough quarterback?
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you said, and like to me, like again, Adams is a bit of a wild card, just given the fact, like what I said earlier. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you from all standpoints about Jimmy Garoppolo and kind of like Adams' game itself. So I'm not mad at this whatsoever. It's just more about how the Raiders season really ends up going.
That's what
Um,
I'm thinking too.
at number 5, this is going to be one this is a pretty easy one for me actually. It's a rather
Mhm.
safe pick. It's going to be AJ Brown. He's one of the younger receivers on this list. He had an incredible season last year. And he's the number 1 guy for the Eagles on a team that's quarterbacked by Jalen Hurts. They run the ball, which it kind of leads me to not putting him a little higher. but his deep ball accuracy and his ability on contested catches, that's really what separates it for me. He doesn't have to get, he's one of those guys in me that doesn't have to get a lot of targets and can still end up getting a lot of yards. So from that standpoint, I think AJ Brown's number.
Super Bowl touchdown. That Super Bowl touchdown. How tough was that catch?
That was
He's
insane.
going over like this and he fits it in on the right shoulder. Like that's no, that's tough. I mean, AJ Brown. Without being said, I mean, I think you're right about this. I know there's a run game, but I think this guy's definitely there.
Yeah.
Number 6, I'm gonna go with maybe what most people don't think is gonna happen, but I personally think is gonna happen. I think Garrett Wilson will take number 6.
Oh, damn.
Okay, this is a very very big step up. I understand there are stars like Stephon Diggs and um you know Chris Olave. Like I understand there are other stars, but I think Garrett Wilson, considering the fact that this is that bad man, Aaron Rodgers is in town, I think it's going to be a difference. I think he's going to have a great season. I think he's going to have a number 6 word season. I mean, he showed himself in the rookie year as with a horrible quarterback like Zach Wilson, able to have an offensive rookie of the year type year. I think Garrett Wilson at number 6 is. I think it's going to happen. Personally, I do think that's going to happen.
It's an interesting pick, actually. I'm not mad at it. Actually, I've said in the past I compared Garrett Wilson a little bit to a young Odell Beckham Jr. As far as this game, his routes are very fluid in the same way that Odell's was. His kind of the way his body is shaped, which I think from a managerial standpoint is extremely kind of like critical in how a receiver is utilized. From coaching standpoint, he's very similar to Odell that way. The contested catches that he made at Ohio State are very similar to what Odell was doing in his first 2 years, especially. So he's very similar to young Odell that way. And I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to be, elite Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have to be the bad man for Garrett Wilson to perform well. Now,
Yeah.
Rodgers, I think, and we'll get into this later on in the episode, but Rodgers' success might be indicative of the team's success, but Garrett Wilson has enough talent to be able to catch the ball and make some great plays after the catch. If I'm not mistaken, he had something like 12.2 yards after the catch last year. So
Was he
this
yards
is a guy.
yards per
I'm sorry.
I thought it was yards per catch, not after
No,
the catch.
yards after the catch. I'm saying.
After the catch? Okay.
Yeah, so it's or no, something. I might be wrong. Maybe it's lower. It might not. I might be wrong. Yeah, it's probably like 7 or 8. I haven't.
Yeah, because 12
But
is insane for the rookie.
yeah, but what I'm saying is he's one of the top 10, 20 players in the league as far as that goes. And I mean that really tells me like this isn't a guy who is really a complete package at receiver. I would not necessarily have him at 6, but I'm but it's a fascinating pick and I'm not mad at it whatsoever. However, at number 7, this is the guy I would have gone with. I'm gonna go with Jalen Waddle. Again, I've talked about how Tua
No,
is.
no, okay, wait. I'm sorry.
This is okay. Hold up.
Wait,
This is not about.
wait, wait. You did a change last episode. I want to do a change this episode. No, that's disrespectful on my part. I'm
How?
sorry. No, that's disrespectful on my part. If I put Jalen Waddle, a guy who
You're okay. I got you. What you're
I
saying.
think I want to do this. You can put Jalen Waddle at number 6. You can speak about him right now, but I think to be respectful, I want to put Garrett Wilson at number 7. I'm
Fair,
sorry. I'm
fair
sorry,
enough.
Jalen. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, I mean, here's the thing. Like, yeah, I mean, for me, like Jalen Waddle, like, if you want to talk about like Tua as far as where you think I've said that I think Tua is going to have a great season for as far as deep ball ability. Jalen Waddle is one of the best receivers. When Jalen Waddle is definitely going to help in that sense because I said like he's going to have a bigger role in this offense for one. He's
Mhm.
going to be improving as a third-year player most of the time does, especially when he's that good. His average depth of target is one of the top 5 in the league, as well as his ability to make plays after the catch, which I think everybody knows dating back to his days at Alabama, right? He's one of those players that plays a lot like a Deebo Samuel, a gadget type receiver, who, he can really do like anything that they want him. He can really run the ball if they wanted him to. I don't think that Miami would be accustomed to that, but it's definitely something that's in the works if they wanted that option. Waddle is amazing when it comes to the jet sweeps. He is one of the best slot players inside the slot and outside the slot,
Yeah.
being able to create mismatches. He really he to me that way I think he's one of the smartest receivers in football because
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
like most players who are that fast and that athletic don't know how to use it. And this is something I miss out of Waddle when I was scouting him coming out of college. I had him as my number 4 receiver, behind, yeah,
Oh,
because I thought that Bateman was going to actually be a better as far as his contested catch ability. I did not realize Waddle was that good when it came to his contested catch ability. Unfortunately, he got injured in his 2020 season, which kind of gave me less film to really watch on him that way. But on top of that, I'd never really understood how he manipulated receivers with his ability to get through the Alabama system and his interactions with Mac Jones as far as being able to get in certain places and being able to hit the road and being able to make those big plays that he eventually did. So from that standpoint, I was really impressed by what I saw from Jalen Waddle.
yeah. I mean, I pretty much already have said my statement on him. Jalen Waddle definitely deserves. I think for me, I think he deserves a higher spot. I didn't think about it. My bad. Um, I think he's, yeah, as you said, one of the smartest receivers in the NFL, and without question, I think he's definitely gonna have a good season this year. But again, I will revert to that point of Mike McDaniel being the offensive play caller. It all depends for me on what he does. So for number 8, um, I'm gonna go with Stephon Diggs. I think that, look, this man has shown it throughout his Buffalo Bills time. I mean, he's made Josh Allen a beast. From I mean, it was really like I remember the days where like when Josh Allen was picked, everybody was like, you know, he has talent. He's gonna be something. He wasn't really anything to write home about. I mean, he was kind of not exactly like a bit better than Daniel Jones, really, in terms of the way he was talked about, the way he played in not as confused, but a very confused manner. He really didn't know what to do. Moment Stephon Diggs entered the Buffalo Bills, we saw a Josh Allen that nobody expected. Like if we're talking about a breakout player, that's one of the biggest breakout players we've seen in decades. I personally think so. We never expected that big of a jump with with one receiver, that dude, just one receiver. Um, Stephon Diggs, especially now that he's the captain, I think he's going to take much more of a leadership role. Yes, there is that whole controversy with the Bills and everything. Yes, but I think he's going to come in here. They're sick of losing. They don't want to lose again. They know that they're not going to let their Bills Mafia down. I think they're going to come in and they're going to blow the NFL apart. I think both of them are going to blow the NFL apart just based off pure anger, and Stephon Diggs is going to have a pretty beastful season. I personally think I'm keeping it number 8 right now. He will move up. I think so. I think he will move up by the time the season's done.
That's a really really interesting take, and I'm really fascinated to see kind of where he lands up this year. So I mean that I'm really I really like that pick. Number 9, this might be a little biased. Actually, no, I don't think so. Um, I've said that why I think Purdy is going to be well, and yes, he disagreed
Okay.
with that, but I did say
Yeah. No.
weapon
Watch carefully. Watch carefully. Watch carefully. I said Purdy does not deserve number
number
6. I
6.
did not say
Hold
number
up.
10
And
spot.
I said he should be just primarily based on how good his weapons. Well, not primarily, but partially because of how good his weapons were, and they're going to give him a lot of big numbers, mainly in the touchdown
There
area.
we go.
From
There
that
we go.
standpoint,
There we go.
I'm going to put Debo Samuel here. I think Debo
Okay.
Samuel.
You know what? Yash. Before you go on your little, as Stephen A. Smith says, your little soliloquy, okay? I'm just gonna say this. It's a good pick. That's a good pick, man.
Okay.
That's a good pick. It's a good
But no,
pick.
I mean, here's the thing. Debo Samuel, he has a lot of the same things as far as the way he's been training this offseason. As a Niners fan, I got to see it a little bit more in depth because I'm following them a little more. But as far as just kind of his his style of play and what Shanahan has been talking about as far as utilizing him, and then really just the way he fits with a Brock Purdy, his yards per. He's one of the best. No, sorry, he is the best when it comes to yards after the catch. He's led the league twice in the last 4 seasons in that stat, and he's also led the league once in that time in yards per scrimmage. One of the most dynamic and versatile players when it comes to being able to help in both the receiving game and the running game. I think him with McCaffrey in a full season where he's not hurt majority of the time, that's going to fool a lot of players. His depth of target is really not talked about a lot. And being able to put his team on the back, I think I think most of this, it's very reminiscent of what happened with Cooper Kupp in 2021. And I'm not saying necessarily he's going to have that, 1900 yard season like Kupp did, but I think he could end up having, one of the breakout years where he's having like 1600, 1700 yards, getting a lot of plays after the catch, and in an offense that I think is going to get a lot of opportunities, primarily because I think the defense is going to give them a lot of takeaways. They're going to get a lot of quick possessions based on how their offense is structured. They're going to get a lot of like quick touchdowns or quick scores. I could see the 49ers really running up scores, and I could see Samuel's stats really taking a real jump next year. So I have Deebo Samuel at 9. I think he could be even higher.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think that Deebo Samuel definitely deserves 9. He could probably be higher, based on the way this goes. Deebo Samuel, the past 2 seasons has really shown himself out, in terms of that star receiver of that 49ers offense. Again, how he's gonna play, because I mean, he's at running back, he's at receiver, he's at so many positions. You don't know how he's gonna play or where he's gonna play exactly. So that's another factor. But I think when it comes to yards after the catch, he's probably the best yards after the catch receiver in the NFL right now. I personally think so. I think he's that speed, the overall build that he has for that type. I think he's one of the best yards after the catch receiver. So I'm not actually not mad at that at all. Um, Number 10, call me biased if you want. Look, I think this guy he had the injury last year, and that's what kind of drilled his season. I think Mike Williams deserved the number 10 spot. I seriously do. Because, okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You can really say anything you want, but if you think, just take a minute to think about this. You have Kellen Moore who's coming in, who's known for bringing receivers over and up, which is Mike Williams' best route throughout the past few seasons. He has dominated when it comes to overtaking cornerbacks and allowing safeties to go over double coverage and get over the catches. Justin Herbert has got probably one of the best arms in the NFL. You have Keenan Allen, who's a route god, who's going to divert a lot of attention. You have Austin Eckler, who can go in the backfield. You have great young receivers who are going to draw attraction. I think Mike Williams is going to have one of those seasons where you're not going to expect it, sure, but I think he will have one of those seasons. I think he's going to, I mean, you can open your mouth even wider, bro. I mean, there's really nothing wrong.
Here's the thing. I'm not even mad at the pick. It's just I'm shocked because I thought you would go Cooper Kupp, and we missed him on this list completely.
No.
That's
okay. No.
I can. I'm shocked about.
No. Okay. I'll give you an explanation for why I'm not keeping Cooper Kupp. The reason is this: the Sean McVay offense is rebuilding itself.
Right.
The offensive line is not nearly at where it needs to be. They don't have any running back support. Here's the thing that I will argue. If you look at every single receiver in this list, actually not even really if you really want to put it, Justin Jefferson, they'd have at least another receiver or another catcher, if you will, that a quarterback can rely on. In the LA Rams case, they don't.
So
they really don't have another.
That is that good then? Because for me personally, I think Van Jefferson has 1,000-yard potential.
No. But
the offense is fine.
No, what I'm saying is I don't think that the Rams offense is gonna produce nearly the same as what we were thinking 2 years ago, or maybe even 1 year ago. I don't think so, because the couple of things. Cooper Kupp cannot single-handedly. I mean, look, no disrespect to Cooper Kupp, but I just don't think he's gonna have a top 10 season. I think he's gonna be 11, and I could be wrong, and I don't mind being wrong. But I'm just saying, Mike Williams with Kellen Moore, a good offensive line, a team that is not injured. I'll remind you, that is not injured, with a much more stacked defense, a defense that has been together for longer, that understands the system finally. finally understands the system, has the type of players to execute the defensive system, and they have receivers who are great. Mike Williams, without a doubt, his best route is the over and take over the top. Only one other receiver who could do that spectacularly, Randy Moss.
Right.
This
So
is one of his
you're
best
basically
routes.
saying that you think because he gets more opportunities, a little more potential wise, you think
Yeah.
that Mike Williams.
Yeah. See, the thing is this. Jamar Chase, why is he one of the best receivers? Because he's having two of the receivers, yet he's being the main target. You look at Justin Jefferson. He has TJ Hawkinson, one of the best tight ends in the league. He's a number one receiver, though. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle is not the number one receiver. Tyreek Hill is. Garrett Wilson, he has Allen Lazard and all those other bad boys. But he is the baddest boy,
Right.
right? So when you look at that, I just feel like right now Mike Williams is the baddest receiver on that team right now. And when you look at the talent that the receiver core of the Chargers have, he is number one. And in that regard, he's going to get a lot more open spaces. That's what I feel personally.
I'm not mad at it, but I mean, no, I get your point. It's just our comment section is going to go nuts at this point if they.
No, look,
I mean,
guys, if you're hearing this, okay, just take a minute and think about this, okay? If Mike Williams was not injured last season and he had played, would he be a over 1,000 yard receiver? Yes, yes, he would have. Okay, number one, he would have. Remember that Titans game?
yeah.
First of all, people embellish, rightfully so, Herbert's pass on the run, beautiful. What about that catch? That's not an easy catch. You're being followed by a safety over top and a corner. That is the toughest thing for a receiver. You grab the ball inside, both legs in, and you push out, and you don't even fall to the floor. You just look at the man like, what are you gonna do? That's Mike Williams. Really, I mean, the thing is this: Cooper Kupp was a triple crown with guys like OBJ, with not maybe the greatest offensive line, but a better offensive line than they have now, with guys who were threats all around. That's why he was a triple crown. When they left, he wasn't a triple crown. He was a good receiver, but he wasn't a triple crown. The thing I have to say is this: great receivers are built on the talent that they're surrounded by their team. Not necessarily they have to put up 1,000 yards in order for them to put up 1,000 yards, but they need threats on the other side so that they have some space.
Or at least players that complement them well, like
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
Chiefs team.
Jamar Chase is, as I said before, the receivers that we have mentioned have really good guys who have to be guarded or have to have at least an eye for. If you leave Allen Lazard open, Rodgers is throwing to him all day. Allen Lazard is a threat when it comes to deep balls, and Rodgers can throw deep balls. Garrett Wilson is the primary receiver, though. See, that's my point. Cooper Kupp is the primary receiver. Van Jefferson, you want to put him in, sure, but it's like I mean, like it's like taking a $700 entree and then adding in McDonald's fries. What are you gonna care about? The McDonald's fries or the $700 entree? Obviously, the $700 entree. That's how it is. Cooper Kupp, he's out of this world. He's out of this world. He deserves the money. This guy, I mean, Van Jefferson, yeah, but you really think Matt Stafford's gonna really think about throwing it to Van Jefferson unless Cooper Kupp is
The
not
last time
doubled?
that Van Jefferson really got to play a full season, he had 800 yards in like 12 games. And he's
But
one of the best, he's one of the most underrated deep ball receivers in the game. So I
okay,
mean, from that
fine,
standpoint, he
sure. I mean,
complements
look.
perfectly, and he fits what Stafford likes to do.
Okay,
So I
okay,
mean, from
fine,
that
fine,
standpoint,
fine.
yeah,
If that's the argument, you have Keenan Allen, one of the best route receivers in the NFL. We haven't put him on the top 10. He does not deserve to be there yet, but he's one of the best route receivers in the NFL.
right.
You have guys who proved themselves last year a lot. You have speed receivers who you could plug in at any point. We have an offense in terms of personnel that I could switch in receivers and I could still have a dominant offense.
Right.
Kellen Moore, did he fail Dallas in the playoffs? Yes, he did. Certainly he did. But we have to recognize he's had dominance when it comes to an offensive production in Dallas throughout the regular season. We both hate the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys, but respect is earned. And in this case it is earned. Kellen Moore does do it. I personally think that we have given a lot. We have given, and I may go on a rant about this, y'all. I'm sorry, man. I have to kind of say this. There has been zero respect given to the Chargers offense, I personally believe, compared to what should be given to the Chargers offense. Justin Herbert is a quarterback like no other. No other person in the NFL is like a quarterback of Justin Herbert. There's better, but not like. We have a receiver core that is not even named right now in the NFL. People don't talk about the Los Angeles Chargers receiver core. We have an extremely good receiver core. We have Gerald Everett, who people have not talked about enough as one of the top tight ends in the league. I personally think he's one of the top tight ends in the league. You have an offensive line who was battered last year, yet, yet, yet somehow, Justin Herbert was still a top 10 quarterback. Josh will agree with me on that. He's still a top 10 quarterback. After last year's season, he was still a top 10 quarterback, even with the battered offensive line. Then you have a defense that has come together. It has taken time. Yes, Staley's system is not easy, but when it is there, when the players and the personnel that need to be there are there, it's a complete system. With Eric Kendricks there controlling the middle, controlling communication, with safeties that have a lot of talent, you have cornerbacks that are long, that are athletically built, they have great speed. You have a defensive line that fits his scheme perfectly. These are not great players, but they are players who fit his system. When I say this, and I mean this with no offense, the Chargers should be given more respect. Stephen A. Smith, Brandon Staley will not be fired this season. He's going to go in here and he's going to allow this team to win a playoff season. Last year, yes. Was it tough? Yes. But this season, God, just please. There are many prayers that need to be answered, but I'm asking for this one. Just one. Let not any Chargers offensive player be injured throughout the season. That's all I'm praying for. That's all I'm praying for. I don't need a lightning strike on any of my guys to go down. That's all I'm praying for. All I'm praying for. I just need some guy. I just need everybody there for one season just to show these imbeciles that the Chargers are the true striking light of the NFL that people haven't seen yet. Please, please, please allow this to happen.
I
That's my
swear,
prayer, man.
I swear, if this happens and somehow the Chargers end up in the Super Bowl against my Niners, oh my,
No,
this is gonna be a fun.
no, look. They won't make the Super Bowl yet. They won't make the Super Bowl yet. They need time. They won't make the Super Bowl yet. But I'm telling you, man, people need to stop this. This is ridiculous. The Chargers not being good enough is ridiculous. You know, when you see that talent, it is ridiculous.